It's Sunday, the 30th of July, and this is your round 20 review. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hoop Show. Oh, not feeling very good, but my name is Ben Reeve, and I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, and the mastermind of the Twitter X rebrand, Mr. Paul James. Welcome, Paul.
Oh, you went that path in the end. All right.
I did. I was going to go UFO conspiracy theorist people, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an absolute trash fire what's going on with Twitter at the moment. So
yeah,
if Threads could just get DMs up and running, I think we're good.
It's not happening to Threads. I think more people are deleting it at the moment than they are signing up.
That's because a lot of them are people that didn't know what they were signing up for.
Yeah, so we're fast approaching 120 followers on Threads, so it's absolutely going gangbusters for us on the channel. But no, I think we'll keep doing what we're doing on Twitter, and we'll occasionally participate in some other platforms as well, mate. Let's talk about it. Let's. I'm in mourning at the moment. I should have worn black today. I should have actually put a little black and white filter on this show. I'm feeling very sad that season 2023 is... Well, it feels like it's over. I don't know how you feel about it. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, like all of us, I've been messing around with the ladder predictor and the like, and where I'd gone from pinching one win from Port or Collingwood, I've changed that to none now, and that has us finishing ninth in my mind. So I'm hopeful that, and I said it to you before we started recording, I'm hopeful that a loss to Freo last year sparked an unbeaten streak. I'm hopeful of history repeating itself, but I'm not nearly as confident. So we also don't have nearly as much time. So, and Joel Selwood's not there.
No Joel Selwood. Unfortunately, no Blitzarves, and
potentially no Hawkins,
no T-Bone Hawkins, and who knows what else? It's looking grim. We
can play Hawkins. Charlie Dixon's been playing on one leg the whole time, so we can just square it off, one at each end that just can't move. Go back to the old days, stay at home forwards.
Well, I did notice that Tommy Hawkins was getting up the ground a lot the other day. I'm like, isn't it Jeremy Cameron that gets up the ground a fair bit? But they're trying to get goals into Jezza or something like that, and Tommy's doing all the work up the ground. I'm like, maybe that didn't help with the hamstring. Don't know.
We'll get to Jezza soon, because
we will.
I think that was clearly the plan, and it almost worked.
Yeah. The other thing I said, for anyone watching, I said to Paul before the show started, is I'm not sure of the tone of this show, and we're recording this at about 12:30, 12:40 now. I'm feeling really flat, and part of me is a little bit angry, part of me is sad, part of me feels like we've had a good run and we should be thankful for everything. What's your overriding emotion right now, Paul?
Disappointment. And that's in part because, look, we could be one of those teams at this point that wins a flag and then bundled out before the finals even the following year, and a record that, or like a title that not very many teams ultimately achieve. But and also then purely selfishly, I was doing exactly what I had done last year, which was banking credits for a trip to the finals at the end of the year, and now I've banked credits and missed games and possibly not going to get the finals.
Are you going to use them up for rounds 22, 23, 24? Is that...
Yeah, maybe. Where's our final game? What's our last game?
Oh, Saints or Bulldogs or something. There's two more games at GMHBA.
I might need to try and make my way there. We might have some retirees potentially to send off.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's...
Which I'm sure will be a subject of conversation in coming episodes, no doubt.
Exactly. And to me, in thinking about this episode, it feels like a season review before the season's done. It kind of feels like the season's come to an end. And I want to be hopeful because Geelong has proven to us over 15, 16 years that they make miracles happen and they find a way. I just feel like the time has come where maybe those days are over.
Like I'm quietly confident still that we'll go and beat St Kilda and we'll go and beat the Bulldogs. But the thing is now, based on all the other results that have played out around us, which has been it's been an incredibly weird round anyway. But we actually now need to pinch one of Collingwood or Port Adelaide. And you'd like to think Port's probably our greatest chance.
Well, they've lost 3 in a row, so
Port's not necessarily flying at the moment. They're a bit off the boil.
Yeah.
They got pantsed by Adelaide.
Yep.
I
can't wait till they start
Rory
talking.
Sloan took a supposed hanger on Travis Boak, and he in fact had barely got off the ground and was then back on the ground by the time he actually finally marked the ball. So like that's how rough Port's gone in the last couple of weeks. So I guess there's always a chance. But
are you still being realistic though, or are you at this stage more hopeful?
No, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, wishful thinking maybe. I
There's a
think
little bit of this going, oh, geez, maybe we could just fall right off the perch and
yeah.
boost that draft because we don't
Well,
have many picks at the moment.
that's probably
We've
where
got two.
we haven't even talked about the game yet, and so bear with us, viewers and listeners. But that's probably where I think we're at now. I think if we're going to be without Blitzarbs 100%. Tommy Hawkins, maybe it was a cramp. I don't know, but I guess we'll find out in the next few days as to how bad both of those are. It just does feel like it's a point where it's like, well, it hasn't worked. Do we keep playing these older guys? Do we give them a farewell tour because that's the kind of club we are, or do we think about the future? It's a tough one, really, because I mean, you want to show respect to those guys they've bled for you, and there's one guy in particular that's won a Norm Smith medal for us nearly 10 months ago, and maybe
Well, he's
yeah.
vocalised that he's considering it.
So is Buddy Franklin, but that's a
he's-
whole nother
I guess
story.
he's vocalised he's changing his mind. Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
I think sometimes you got to have.
But then he also Buddy injured himself during the game, so
Yeah.
that could be curtains for Bud.
If we have to have some hard conversations, and I rate Chris Scott as a coach, I think he's one of the best coaches the league has ever seen, never mind just Geelong, but can he have those hard conversations with the players? I know he's pretty honest with himself, and I think he said before the 2022 season to a few of the key people at the club, like, am I the right person? But does he want to have those conversations with the Tom Hawkins, with a Zach Toohey, and maybe an Isaac Smith's maybe an easy one because that was never the plan for him to be 4 years really. But
I think he's more than up to having those conversations. Unfortunately, Cats fans will recall that he had those conversations with the likes of Stevie J and I mean even Jimmy, for example. Like they were told that kind of not in the plans, so let's try and give you a proper send off. And Jimmy retired. Stevie J went off to GWS.
Yeah,
like there was
Josh Hart.
like he's done this.
Stokesy.
He's been and done it before. So yeah, Stokes. There's quite
James
a few
Kelly,
players.
Chappie, all those guys. Yeah,
Chap didn't want to go for.
No, he didn't want to go at all. They said
he's been and done it. So I think he's capable of it. And as much as they won't be fun, and certainly the relationship with a lot of those guys is going to be far stronger than what it would have been with like a Jimmy or someone like that.
I was about to say, I think
longer.
It's his team. This 23, 22 year team is his team. Him and all the other people at the club that built that team. Whereas you can make the argument that he inherited the 2011 side.
Bombers team,
and probably Bombers and Stevie Wells' team back then. But look, it's either way, it's going to be a difficult one, and I don't doubt that he can't have the conversation. It's whether he wants to. Probably I should have phrased it that way. Does he want to be the guy that moves a bunch of guys on? Does he want to be the guy that coaches a club that's fourth bottom on the ladder for the next 2 or 3 years? I think, and maybe we don't agree on this one, but I feel like the cliff is pretty steep, and it's not far away. Again, I'll probably have egg on my face this time next year when we're in another prelim. Look, it'll probably happen.
That's what happened last time we missed the finals.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Like, there's definitely a cliff coming. I guess I don't know how steep it is. I'm probably more of the negative sort of slant, and that I think people might recall the video I put out about kind of that next. And it's kind of indicative of what's going on in the VFL at the moment.
Yes, that's right.
The bashings we're getting on a fairly regular basis at the moment.
While you're talking about that, I'm just going to pull up the
age bracket. There's a dearth of players in that kind of 24 to 26 bracket that we just don't have them. So we need to find ways to either recruit those players in, or we probably just have to have a down year or two before we really shoot up with the likes of, and I mean he's in our votes today, but like the likes of Tanner Bruin, for example, who are demonstrating all the right signs and are clearly going to be stars of the competition, but they need more time to get the body right, to get consistency week in, week out. Like that takes a little bit of time. So if we have a few players retire, as we expect will probably be the case, depending on who those players are, we could become a little bit vulnerable in a few aspects around the ground, and it'll be quite interesting at that particular
some significant
point.
Positions. And then you're assuming that the players that don't retire are going to have seasons where they're just going to play every game. If it's anything like this year, imagine we drop a bunch of senior guys, key players. Or sorry, don't drop them. We retire them off, and then Jeremy Cameron misses half a season, or Max Holmes breaks an arm or something like that. By the way, the VFL team's 39-1 at the moment in front. So we are playing the Northern Bull Ants, but
jeez.
I've just got it on my phone.
It's they're your West Coast Eagles of the VFL.
Exactly. So they're not much chop. except Northern Bull Ants are lining up. But this isn't a Northern Bull Ants show. It's the Hoop show. It's the Geelong-based show. I think the cliff's coming, mate, and I think it'll come. If it's not going to come next year, and look, I'll hold out a little bit of hope still that the Cats will surprise us all and frustrate the rest of the competition like we have done for the last 15 years. We just keep finding a way to be there at the pointy end again. I think this is the year. This is our 2015, the last time we missed the finals. I think you've got to have that down year. Can we defy the odds again and rebuild on the run like we've done so well? I think the way we've recruited, some of the trades that we've made, we've gone very, very heavy with senior players.
Ollie Dempsey with 3 goals, by the way.
Well, there you go. Good old Ollie. How's your boy Mitch Nevitt going? I'm not really sure.
Mitch Nevitt.
Is that Jed Buse playing in the VFL?
9 disposals. Yeah, Sid. I mean, he's got to come in probably next week. But
yeah.
Especially since Willie Rioli's going to be back.
Oh yes, Willie's back. All right, let's talk a little bit about the game. Let's get into the game a little bit. We can touch on a bit more on the rest of the year and some thoughts on where things go from there. But the Cats had a 7-point loss to Fremantle, our 3rd loss in a row to Fremantle, and the 2nd loss in a row to that same club at GMHBA Stadium. Mate, it just seemed like a carbon copy of last time they played us. We got out to I think last time it was a 3-goal lead. They didn't
got out the blocks well.
They didn't score a goal the first quarter. I'm like, yes, we've been here before. And then sure enough, the second quarter, it's like bang, 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 and okay, interesting. And then I don't know, things just got messy, real bad. And some of the players had. I'm not going to go out so far as an extreme and say, oh, the worst game they've ever played for the club. That was the worst game we've played all year. You don't have to go that far back to when we put in a stinker against the Gold Coast, or even last week against Brisbane. We played bad, and we played bad pretty much across the ground. A couple of players maybe, that's why it was so hard to do the votes, but a couple of players probably played above their normal standard, and everyone else was 2 out of 3 out of 10. And I love the Cats, don't get me wrong. I love the Cats, I love the players, I love the club, and I'll never stop. But sometimes you just got to call it how it is, and hopefully internally that's how they're not patting themselves on the back either. And
no, they won't be. They've got really high standards, so and they're not meeting them, and so they'll be their biggest critics, I'm sure. But it was a pretty ugly performance, and really emblemised by Tom Stewart, who we cite in the stats as having 11 marks, gained nearly 800 metres, got a lot of the ball. Geez, he turned it over a few times. A few really important smothers against him as well, where it just ricocheted off the other direction and up the other end of the ground. It was perhaps his worst game of the year, which
I think that's probably fair. And you get a lot of it.
He has very, very high standards. It hasn't really lowered his colours much all year, but probably his worst game.
And it's hard to criticise a bloke that gets it 27, 28 times and say he had a bad game. I defy anyone else. I don't think I'd touch the ball once. Or half the VFL players wouldn't get anywhere near that amount. So, look, the thing is, the more you get it, the more likely you are to have some more higher turnovers. But it wasn't his great game, and there were some really costly moments. And an unfortunate moment, I guess, he was chasing the Freo bloke, Fredericks, I think his name was, and up against the boundary line and kicked one of the goals of the year. And
Fredericks did a Gary Ablett from the
Stewart was chasing him, and then he sort of went to corralling him a little bit, thinking, he's going to try and centre this, or he's trying to get it back on his left or something like that. So, unfortunately, it was Stewart again. And the one that we talked about ugly moments or being an ugly game. And I feel bad about picking out individual players. I always do, but I can't do this show without having a little bit of a crack at Jack Bowes. There were some moments there. One in the goal square, we absolutely fumbled it, led to a goal. Another one where he took a mark and tried to play on. And mate, my eyes were popping out of my head at that moment. What were the big moments for you? I mean, there's a few. Clearly, Tom Stewart turned it over a bunch, and there's a golden head god that turned it over once as well.
I mean, for me, I think everything's really emblemised by Jeremy Cameron's 1-goal-5.
Oh yeah, yep.
And it's just kind of close, but just couldn't deliver all day. And it looked like in that first quarter, though he wasn't kicking super accurately, it was like, okay, here we go, he's back, and you could see the signs at the end, like in that last quarter of the Brisbane game, and obviously necessity kind of drove that for the Cats. But The midfield was firing. The delivery was good. He was starting to get his hands on it. Kicked a few goals. Thought, okay, here we go. This is like, there might be still a few players a little bit down, but we've got more at this point of the year that are up than what they were at the beginning of the year when Cameron was dominating. Then this could be the moment that kind of swings everything around. And I looked at it and thought, Cameron's like this close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was that close, and he just was spraying and left, right, and centre. It was a mess.
He would normally kick 5 goals one, and that's the Jeremy Cameron now versus rounds 1 to 6. It's like he's unrecognisable. I don't know what's going wrong there.
Dadlock wearing him out.
The being knocked out clearly he got copped a pretty big one in the ribs at one point as well. Having a baby at home. I actually stole your thunder a little bit because on the last week's show you were talking about Jezza. You know, the beast has been awakened, and I went on the Purple Rain podcast during the week talking a big game, how Jezza's going to come out firing and he's about to explode. It's going to be shock and awe on the first quarter with the Cats.
It basically was. He just didn't put it through the sticks.
No. And
he had 3 shots on goal, I think.
Flip that, 6 shots on goal. I think he did make the distance once as well. Might have kicked one out in the full, I can't remember. But I was watching him in the warm-up and like he's spraying them all in the warm-up as well. And I'm thinking, oh, God, this isn't good. Hopefully he does it in the real game. He stayed out a little bit longer after everyone had went in too and having extra shots during the initial pre-game warm-up. He just wasn't hitting it at all.
He just knows his touches off as well.
Yeah. One thing, I'm going to try and find a positive with Jezza, though. He's getting the ball. He's still getting the ball. He's getting around. He knows where to position himself. His field kicking's still pretty good for most of the time. But, yeah, just those shots on goal. And maybe it's a head thing. I don't know. It's really cost us a lot.
His confidence is down.
Yeah. So, Jezza, we love you. I know you're not watching this, but... anyone else that's maybe watching this and wants to give him a hard time, footy's a tough game, and it is what it is. But keep giving yourself those chances. I think Alistair Clarkson said that one time about Hawthorn, and we don't like Hawthorn, we know that, but he was saying, look, you keep putting yourself out there, you lose a grand final. Well, just like what Geelong's done, we keep making those prelims, you give yourself a shot, just like we did in 2022. We finally made it happen.
Exactly.
Any other moments from the game? There was some. What about in that last quarter? I don't know, when things looked like they were going our way early.
Yeah, they exploded out of the blocks in the last, and then the script flipped again pretty rapidly. So
got a goal from Brad Close, and then I think Izzy might have got one as well from memory.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I'm going to try and quickly check the.
Yeah.
Oh, that's still the.
And you just thought, okay, here we go. Finally, the Cats are coming. We're finally starting to put the pieces together. It's a bit frustrating that you leave it till this late, but it was starting to happen. But yeah, unfortunately, not enough, and just couldn't keep them at bay. And
Hawkins with the first, Brad Close, then another one like after Freo kicked one back. Isaac Smith put us back in front, about 10 points up again, and then Frederick, Schultz, just couldn't get the ball out of the defensive half after that point.
What did you think of Hawkins' game? I mean, we know he limped off at the end, and we'll figure out what's going to happen with that through the week. But he looked like he was absolutely getting a bath from Pearce.
Pearce, who's had a pretty shocking year.
Yeah,
clicked at the right time. And you said it. He absolutely got given a bath.
Still kicked 2 goals, so give him that. But just really didn't seem to impact the game at all. Can't seem to get off the ground these days. So I wonder whether he's having the same impact he's in those. I don't know the stats on it. It's just my gut feel that he's not having the same impact in those ruck contests up forward. Maybe he's had previous years, or maybe opposition.
Our teams are finally doing something about it.
It was a matter of time. I can't believe he's lasted that long being so effective in that role. Now we haven't got Blitzarv, so we're going to have to rely on Reece Stanley and possibly another big comes in. Is this the time? And we're jumping all over the shop in this show, but is this the time that we bring Shannon Neal in, or is there another big that maybe we need to be having a look at?
I don't know. No, I think stick to your.
Well, what about our man Phoenix Foster? Is it too early for the big Phoenix to rise? Possibly, but I'd love to see it.
So, as much as we love him, I'd say so. I won't I've got kind of half an eye on the game at the moment now, and he's
Yep.
only got 3 touches. But of course, we're
That's all
playing
right.
the Bullets, so it's not spending much time in the
Here he
defensive
goes.
end.
He's got the long sleeves and the long socks on. Still hasn't taken our advice to put the headband on, but hopefully one day he'll do that. But we're going to get a big in. We're 2 big guys out, so guarantee you we're not replacing them with a little fella. I don't think.
Well, you can't really replace.
Well, then again,
anyway. So
Sam Simpson came in for Reece Stanley one time, so you never know. The Cats do stranger things, so we'll see.
that's true. But I guess we had Blitzarves to fall back on. We won't now. So
maybe they'll throw. What's his name? Jack Henry will play that utility role. He'll just go all around, do the Blitzarve role. I don't know if he's got.
Well, I hope so, because he could do with getting his hands on the ball. He kicked a couple goals, but he was pretty well ineffective otherwise this weekend. I've been a big. It's been documented a lot. I'm big on what Jack is bringing to the club.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Ollie Henry.
Ollie, yes.
But yeah, he had a bit of a stinker this weekend.
That was there's a big butt there. That was he actually looked lost.
Actually, to be fair, Jack, who I think actually we were talking about, I think I just got my Henrys mixed up.
No, you're right.
But Jack, I thought was pretty fantastic actually.
Yeah, no, Jack was pretty good. I didn't get him in my votes, but I thought he was reasonably impressive as well. Look, I mean, there was some good moments in the game. It wasn't all bad. I guess you don't get the result you want, and you tend to dwell on the negatives too much. But I saw a lot of nice contested marks there. I think even Closey took one at one stage. I think DeConning might have. No, sorry, Kolodashti might have had one.
Yeah.
Some great moments. But unfortunately, just the end result wasn't what we wanted, and it's probably means that it's going to be a really, really tough road to September.
Curtains.
To them. And it also, if you look at some other games results that are playing out across the league, it seems to be all the teams that are winning are the ones we probably don't want to be winning at the moment. So
GWS stealing one.
GWS is climbing. Carlton's just come from nowhere again.
The Tigers played today against the.
Guaranteed the Tigers win.
So we'll see what happens there.
They'll win. I guarantee it. There's another. It's all going against Geelong at the moment. See, I'm in the doom and. So this is how this show's evolved. I'm full doom and gloom now.
You have become a bit negative, Nelly.
Oh, negative Nelly. Sorry, everyone. If you want me to be positive, I'll try and bring it a bit more next week when we do Port by 80 points at home. I'm not predicting that though.
We defy all logic.
Do we predict Port? Do we predict a Geelong win next week? I don't know.
Let's wait and see the outs.
Let's wait and see the outs.
Actually, let's. We're going to, I guess, briefly allude to the fact that they're our opposition later.
Yeah.
But Port Adelaide's Medico should be sacked.
What happened? I didn't
Fired
see.
straight away. I assume you've seen the footage of the collision between.
Yes.
Alir and whoever else he
Whoever.
hit. The other one that he hit, who had, I would argue, the lesser impact by eye anyway from the eye test. Off, subbed, no dramas. Alir did not move for quite a while. They didn't even give him the concussion test. They sent him out after 6 minutes back on the field. Should be shot. That was. It's cheating. Now it didn't work for him. Sucked in, but there's so much drama these days around head damage, head trauma, and the argument was, and I think David Zeta tweeted it out during the game last night, where apparently the Port Medico had looked at the footage and determined there was nothing to see here and sent him back out.
What footage is he looking at?
Because it's straight up cheating as far as I'm concerned, and endangering your player. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, I would like to think that you can trust the medicos, and that's what the AFL said, and all the clubs say it. Like, trust the medicos. If the medico says the player's not right, then they're going to do the right thing by the player. Seems like they did the right thing by the club in this instance.
Yeah, Alir shouldn't have been playing the rest of that game, and as a result, shouldn't actually be playing against us next week. Now,
and look,
there's a little bit of extra want as a Cats fan who might be potentially without Hawkins next week.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of obviously extra.
It'd be nice if
him out, but I don't want to see him out for head damage. No one we don't want concussions, that sort of thing. We really want to see that stamped out of the game, but it happened. It was so obvious he was concussed.
I hope there's some footage of Connor Rosé or Zach Butters doing something behind the ball, and we can rub them out as well.
Smacking someone.
Maybe the big bloody Viking forward they've got there. What's his name again? Charlie Dixon. Hopefully we can find a way to rub them out too. Now they're going to be. I can't imagine they're dropping 4 straight. I'm going to wait a few days. No, I'll do my predictions on this show, but as I always do, I maintain the right to change my mind through the week. Through the week.
Pending new information.
Just a couple of team stats, mate. Look, credit to Reece Stanley and probably Blitz as well. We won the hit-outs by 31 or something like that. But, mate, it just seems like last week all over it. We did the same thing last week. We won the hit-outs, but we got killed in the clearances again. So I don't know what was being taught at training, what was being discussed at training during the week, but maybe there was a few players just not listening. I don't know. What they tried to do just absolutely did not work. I just didn't see enough. Didn't seem enough effort. Didn't see enough want. Didn't seem to be that they understood the stakes and maybe thought, well, this is one of the wins we've banked and maybe we just need to worry about Port and Collingwood in the next fortnight.
And now they have to worry about Port and Collingwood. They actually need to steal one to make it. So,
well, you want to be winning pretty much. If you're going to have a chance at a grand final, you want to be winning the last four, really. You don't want to be coming into September winning 2 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 or whatever it is. So,
they can only get in with 3 out of 4 at this point.
And how long should we spend talking about the umpires on this show?
That was disgusting.
Do we dwell on it, or do we accept the fact we weren't good enough? And
oh no, look, the umpires aren't the reason why we lost, but geez, they did their best to make sure it was all. Wow. There was some horrific decisions.
Wow. Yeah, I like to think that I'm pretty non-biased with the umpires, and I don't think they've got a vendetta against Geelong, and I won't go that far. No,
not at all. In fact, like the free kick ladder that comes out, which is always a bit of clickbait when it comes out anyway, but we're like middle of the ladder.
Yeah.
So I think we had like 5 more against us for the entire year going into yesterday's game. So nothing. It's nothing.
I haven't heard that much anger directed at the umpires since probably the late 90s. When standing in the outer at GMH or Kinnia Park, the crowd was angry, mate. We were not happy with those umpires, and that's probably
a third of the ground missing.
Oh, exactly. Oh, it was loud. It was ferocious, and not good. They had an absolute mare. It was really disappointing. Let's get into some votes, unless there's anything else from the game. It's one of those games you just want to forget about. Unfortunately, we can't, because we'll probably reflect back on the season and think that's probably the one that kicked us out of the finals or snuffed out our last hope. But we should talk about some votes. And yet again, and I told you off air, I can't believe we've picked the same 3 players again in a different order, but we've gone the same 3 players again. I'll hand it over to you to go through those, Paul.
Yeah, so BOG for me was Tanner Bruhn. Got his hands on a lot of the ball, not necessarily as much as some of the others, and he had and I could say the same about another player who's in our votes as well. The ratio of kicks to handballs wasn't ideal for both Tanner and someone else that will cite in the votes a little bit later on. But at the end of the day, when the club needed him, he was there. He was the one at the coalface. He was the one that cut off a handball and drove the thing forward. He played a really, really important role, and it's one that stats actually don't measure. And I took a look at the stats. I took a look at the fantasy points and all those sort of things that kind of stem from the actual data that's there. And it doesn't show that he had an overly great game. In fact, it was pretty mediocre when you look at it that way. But
and yet again, apart from the subs, he was the second least amount of time on the ground after Dangerfield. Yeah,
but unbelievably effective. Yep. So he's got the 3 votes.
He's actually going to go nuts in the next couple of years. You can just say when he gets more game time and more confidence and starts taking more of a leadership role at the club.
Bigger body too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think he's awfully close. 2 votes for me, Gary Rowan. Did a great job in the forward half, and then when things went a little bit awry with blitzers and he got thrust in the middle, geez, it kind of worked.
Yeah.
And you could see he had he was breaking the game wide open because he wasn't going to win the ruck hit out, but he did sometimes there too. But then he'd be straight down on the ground and he'd be tearing after an opponent, as we always see him do from the forward line. And if that ball landed in his hand, he was off.
Oh my!
It was do we give Gary a bit more midfield time?
Maybe we should. You'll ping a hamstring before you know it. But if
it
wasn't for those hammies,
too much running.
he's fantastic. It's some of that chase down tackle that he got the crowd up and about. I'm telling you. And there's one he didn't quite get, but put the fear of God into his opponent. I thought that's good. Didn't quite get him, but I don't think I think he'll rush it a bit more next time.
I do love a good camera shot where he's out of the frame and all of a sudden, boom, he's
bang.
nailed someone. Like, holy crap, where'd that come from?
The flash. Yeah.
And the one vote for me, and yeah, the other player that I was kind of citing a moment ago, Tommy Atkins. Again, the kick to handball rate wasn't ideal, but much like Tanner was there when the whips were cracking and when we needed him and we needed to try and win a centre clearance, he was there.
Yeah. No, look, I agreed with your Atkins. I gave Atkins one vote as well. I probably thought he maybe should have been credited with a few more tackles. From the naked eye, he looked like he was getting in and tackling pretty well, but it seemed like he had 4 or 5 on the sheet at the end of the day. I didn't think that was overly accurate. But I thought he was putting his guts. He was putting it on the line the whole game. Tried his guts out, so I can't really ask a whole lot more of him.
Yeah.
Really, just didn't seem to have the support, and he wasn't getting a hell of a lot of clearances. But that's okay. It's probably the 2 players that really stood out for me that I think were above their best was Gary Rowan. I gave the 2 votes to. Tanner Bruin. I gave the 2 votes to. I thought he tried a bit like Atkins, just tried his guts out all day long, and just was just had a bit of class. And there's one moment he didn't collect a Freo player, but goodness me, I'm glad he didn't, because I reckon he might have had some weeks. He absolutely threw him. It reminded me of Dangerfield, just the way he threw himself at the contest, and thankfully he didn't collect anyone. But look, Gary Rowan, the stat sheets will never show you that he was the best player on the ground. I just think he was the most influential at points in the game there. And really, when we were looking good, it was when Gary Rowan had the ball in his hand and was moving it and laying tackles and all that. So it's a tough one to give votes to in here. And the roll of honour poll that we did, it's never you never make everyone happy with these things. It's like I'll put Tom Stewart on there and I'll see how many people crack the shits with that. Sure enough. And I think
people cracked the shits, but he also got a decent chunk of the votes.
He got a fair.
Didn't win it, but
no, he got a fair bit of it. So it was pretty split. But Tanner Bruin was the standout on the poll. Well, not an absolute standout, but he had clearly more than anyone else. So for the first time this year, in the 10th cat, Tanner Bruin, our man with the big bright smile, gets the roll of honour for this week. So yeah, those are the votes. I think Gary Rowan might have got on it this year already. So anyway, he didn't make it this time around. Look, we talked a little bit about Port Adelaide. That's our next opponent. It's on Saturday night at Kidney Park. Not a bad record against Port. They tend to beat us in big games, but we've won 3 out of the last 5 against them. So I'd give us a shot, mostly because of the way they're travelling at the moment. And losing 3 in a row and then having to come into state to play Geelong, big TV game. I think it's covered.
Probably a little bit of a fuse lit under the Cats too. Like there'll be a bit of extra fire. They know it's do or die. Yeah.
And look, maybe they think the season's over. Maybe the Cats are resigned to the fact that it's not this year. And the senior people at the club would know we're not winning the premiership. You still want to make the finals, but maybe there's a bit of pride on the line for the Catters and they want to give it a red-hot crack. We did lose to them earlier in the year, though, didn't we? By 38 points.
38 points.
So, but no, 3 out of the last 5, so it's not too bad. Now, I don't know how Jed Buse is going. Have you heard any news about how he's travelling?
Just have a bit of a squeeze at
the
stats,
same old. He's progressing in his recovery. Blah blah
it's
blah.
Probably
blah,
not
blah.
going to be super clear because we're absolutely bashing up on a team. He's had 6 disposals and the ball has. There's been 3 scores against at this point in the Bullants game. So it's probably. The stats aren't going to tell us a story about him today, unfortunately.
No.
But it's 8-10 to 3 behinds at this point. So
does Radaglia come back in? Have we given up on him? That's a tough one because it depends on how you see the season. Do you see the season as a write-off? Do you want to try and keep?
I'm just thinking if Hawk's out, they might go and look. I think the recognition is there within the club. A, that probably he's gone. But B, that he's not like our starting 22 key defender.
So Henry.
Maybe we go back to
Jack Henry up forward, Radaglia down back.
Send Radaglia back to the forward line for the game.
You could. I just think it sends the wrong message to Radaglia. But sometimes you have to. I think we had.
Well, we know he can do it.
Yeah, he can do it, kind of. He can fly for a mark.
He's playing against the team that he's likely going to be playing for next year. So
true. That'll be interesting. They'll probably want him to go well.
So if he can kick 6 and send drive up his price so we can get some extra picks or whatever
maybe
for him.
That's it. Yeah, when we're down by 50, they might just let him get a few goals just to. Oh, maybe we should let him
Fill up his boots, fill up his
fill
trade
his
value.
fill his boots a little bit. So he's one that stands out to me. I mean, clearly the guys on the periphery, on the edges, your Ollie Dempsey's and your Mitch Nevitt's. Sam Simpson's a bit of a forgotten man, but I think he's recovering from injury. And the other big one for me, or Oisin Mullen as well, but Sam Menegola, I thought maybe this was the week that they'd give him a go. I thought this would be the week that they'd try him. Because he's been on the emergencies quite a bit, like three of the last few weeks at least anyway. So I thought maybe this was the week, but what do you reckon? Is he another chance?
He's the one that comes in for blitzarves, I reckon.
Do you reckon? Oh, on the wing, yeah.
He'll play that wingman role,
Yep.
and I think we'll do a very good job of it. So I think he's the in.
Yep. And sure enough, you'll probably get injured in the VFL.
So far, so good. 15 disposals, 4 tackles.
Hold your breath.
He's having a good game so far. Brandon Parfitt for that, I don't think gets a gig in the 22, but he's also had 22 disposals and it's barely into the third quarter.
I don't think Brandon Parfitt's the future.
Half time, sorry, actually.
If you're desperate, and as I said, if the club genuinely believes that the season's not over, play your best 23.
Yep.
But if they, in their heart of hearts, don't believe that, you can't play Brandon Parfitt. He's not the future.
No.
He might have had a down year, fair enough, and again, could surprised a lot of people by coming. I remember a few years ago, James Kelly, I'd written him off and he was having a shocking year and then he became a 300-game player. It's possible. It just doesn't feel like, in Brandon Parfitt's case, it's happening. So, look, I think there'll definitely be some changes. I'd love to see Shannon Neal get a go. He seems to be kicking quite a few goals in the VFL in recent weeks.
One so far today,
and it's still pretty early, but, it's a possibility. Mate,
he's kicked 1 goal, 3.
God.
He's got a case of the yips.
Well, that's what we need. Another tall that's going to kick nothing. Anyway, I think it is pretty windy out there. I'm in my garage. It doesn't look like that at the moment, but I'm in my garage and I can hear the wind trying to blow the garage door down. So, anyway, maybe it's a bit blustery out there. Okay, so the next 4 weeks, we've got Port Adelaide, Collingwood, St Kilda and the Bulldogs. Do you believe that we'll win 2 of them? And which ones?
I think we'll win 2 of them. I think we'll beat St Kilda and the Dogs.
But we're going to go into those games on a 4-game losing streak. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we need to win one of these 2. And I feel like Port Adelaide is the more likely one of the 2. Not that the Pies are necessarily firing on all cylinders at the moment. Yeah. But
go watch the highlights of round 1 again. We weren't that far off it for 3 quarters there.
Jeremy Cameron wasn't that far off it. Jeremy Cameron's the reason we were even in that game.
Yeah, true. But, I had 16 goals won at one stage. So we weren't that far off that game. It just Collingwood, I didn't believe them at that point. But, they just ran over the top in the end.
Yeah, I think Port's the one. Like if we can get and they'll know it too. Like internally within the club, this is the one. If they can steal a win here, hopefully, they win against the Pies as well. But what kind of a little bit more, whatever happens there, and then you go, okay, now it's the Saints and the Dogs. The Saints, they're playing like a bottom 14, despite being 6th on the ladder, and the Dogs aren't great either. They're coming to Geelong as well. They don't
8-point games, those last ones, aren't they?
Yeah,
pretty much.
So I think that's super, super important, but it means nothing if we don't beat either Port or Collingwood. So
here's some doom and gloom for you. I'm going to say that we're going to beat Port Adelaide and Collingwood, and then we're going to drop the last 2 against teams that we should beat. It just feels that this is the amount of time. No, hear me out. The amount of times I am so down in the dumps today, but the amount of times we've lost to teams below us on the ladder this year, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just crazy. We just cannot. We just don't turn up when the opponent. We don't rate the opponent that much. I think we'll definitely.
Like that.
Yeah, I agree. Like our best chance is to beat Port. I don't think it's impossible to beat Collingwood. It can be done. Carlton's just done it, but it's highly unlikely. And St Kilda's probably the best one there. I think the Dogs. I think we've beaten the Dogs like 5 or 6 times in a row. So you almost doesn't mean that's going to happen, especially when they're fighting for a spot in the 8. So and our season might already be over by that point, depending on some other results. So. You think we need 2? Oh, I think we need 3.
We need 3. There's the minimum. I think the minimum we can get is 2. Like I think we'll beat the Saints and the Dogs, but we need to steal one of the other 2 games.
Yep. And we'll probably come together on this show next Sunday and go, how we talked about needing 3? Well, let's just call it now. Season's over. We'll be having a very different conversation. It'll be more about, okay, which young kid are we bringing in? Which kids Do we think of the future? And maybe, if we're going to retire some blokes, hopefully they do it off their own bat, and we don't have to have the conversation with them. I just don't want Chris Scott or anyone to be able to tell these guys it's time when they're telling themselves, "No, I've got another year to go." But anyway, now some results from this weekend. We are doing the show, as I said, a little bit earlier on the Sunday, but Carlton, as I said, did beat Collingwood by 17 points. So GWS defeated the Bulldogs. That was a classic game, that one, down at Ballarat. That was
Vintage
a fantastic
between
game.
those two teams at this point.
Yeah, fantastic. This one shocked me. Gold Coast defeated Brisbane by 41 points. Would you have picked that?
Apparently, the Suns sent Max King into the boxing ring a bit throughout the course of the week, getting him a little bit fired up, and then he kicked 5 goals. So there's something like all the Cats players, if they can go do a few boxing sessions this week, it might get the juices going.
Get the juices flowing. Sydney defeated Essendon by 2 points. That was a good game.
Probably Buddy's final game.
Buddy's final game for the club. Unless you talk to Buddy, he'll tell you he's got another 5 years to go. He does not at all. And Adelaide, another massive upset. Adelaide is just that you can't pick Adelaide this year. No. They defeated Port Adelaide by 47 points. And
Texan getting a little bit closer to stealing the Coleman.
Well, a little bit closer, but Charlie Curnow, he's kicked 16 goals. Yeah, well, who's playing West Coast next? That's the thing.
No. So, Tex finishes his final game of the year against the Eagles. And if he can just kind of...
What's Fred Fanning's record?
Just hold ground with Charlie, maybe even eat it away. Like Charlie kicked 6, Tex kicked 7.
Yeah, well...
Just hold ground and maybe catch him up by 1 or 2 before that final game.
Yeah.
As if those Adelaide Crows midfielders won't be looking to line up Tex and try and get 10. Because remember, he kicked 10 early in the year against the Eagles.
Oh, well, hopefully they still got to worry about making the finals, not worrying about Tex getting a medal around his neck. But they're a chance. They've surprised me by beating Port. And as I said, Port lost 3 in a row now. I couldn't believe that, considering the run they've gone on. But that's what happens. We won 16 in a row, and then we lost the first 3 games of this year. And then we won 5 in a row again, so it's a crazy season. It's just, I can't pick it. 3 more games to come today. Hawthorn versus St Kilda. Don't be surprised.
That is live as we speak.
Don't be surprised if Hawthorn beats St Kilda. They are another one that just loses games they shouldn't lose. A bit like us, really. Richmond and Melbourne, another one where I'm not surprised if Richmond win that one. And they are the team that, if we can't make the finals, I just don't want Richmond to make it. I'm sorry. Stuff Richmond. Who's your pick in that game? Do you pick in Richmond?
No, the D's will win.
D's will win that one. And West Coast versus North, the game of the round. They've saved it for the last game of the round. It's the one we've all been waiting for. We really should have been spending a bit more time talking about this one.
The Harley Reid Cup.
The Harley Reid Cup. Can West Coast finally win? I mean, they've both lost 16 straight, I think, something like that. But
no, I wouldn't have thought so. So we'll see.
You never know. They've gone close a couple of times. Now, you wanted to talk about the Irish raid on some players from the small island to the west of England. What do you want to say about that?
So there's been reporting that, and it started with Carlton actually, that Nick Austin, Carlton's head recruiter, has gone off to Ireland, and a little birdie got in touch with me and informed me that other clubs cottoned onto that. And so there's some reports. I was doing some research even before the show started. There's some Ireland websites and newspapers reporting on the fact that Nick and his team are going over. But a little birdie has kind of popped into my ear and informed me that the Cats are following them up. Cats and a few other clubs have all cottoned on to what Nick and the team are up to and some of the players they're looking at. They are flying off to Ireland. And I don't know who from the club is heading up there. It could be Mac, it could be Wellesley, it could be someone else on their behalf.
Okay.
But we've got representatives flying off to Ireland. I mean, obviously, our track record these days is pretty good. Obviously, we poached Zach from Carlton in the first place, and he's more of a Geelong player now than a Carlton player. Mark O'Connor, we've got O'Shea Mullen these days.
Yep.
Who's obviously very beginning of his career, but is this prodigal talent. Who knows? We might be going after someone else. I was reading that Shifter Sheehan expects that they're going to bring 4 Irish players over for the combines and all those sorts of things. So there must be a very good pool of Irish players now, and a few of the clubs, beginning with Carlton, but inclusive of the Cats and others, have cottoned onto it, and they're all flying out to have chats and potentially even do some tests as well. So I'm interested to see where they go with that. The Cats have been doing well with the Irish players of late.
Yeah, I reckon I might have to have a chat with Jake from the Chat Cats, because he follows the Gaelic League pretty closely actually. So he'd he might know who some of the up and coming young players are.
There's
that'd
a
be worth
couple
looking at.
names. Oh no, sorry, ignore that. No, sorry.
Interesting ahead. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, O'Sheen has enjoyed his first year at Geelong. I know he had a couple of doubts about whether he wanted to make the move a few years ago and ended up staying, but then this year decided to come after winning a premiership. But hopefully the form this year we've showed hasn't turned him off a little bit, and he's enjoyed his time in the country.
We've got him now.
Yeah, and so hopefully so. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks. No other major news other than, Paul, I'm heading along to the Joel Selwood book signing on Wednesday afternoon. I'm catching up with Johnny from the Chaps show. He'll be there as well. I think there'll be a few other people that watch this show and follow us on Twitter that'll be there as well. So it'll be good to see them. And the Joel Selwood book, All In. Now, we're not paid to sponsor the show. I did reach out to Joel's people and see if he wanted to come on just for 5 or 10 minutes to talk about the book, but he said, look, happy to, but maybe later in the year when I think they do a bit of Christmas promotion. For get your dad or mum or someone.
I might need to sling you some cash. You can buy me a second copy of the book, get it signed, and I'll cancel my one that I ordered on Amazon.
That's fine. I'll buy a couple of books as well. I was going to get one for Dad for his birthday in August as well. So he's up in Queensland at the moment. He actually went to the Brisbane game last week. I think he got good seats and money not well spent. Anything else from you, Paul? I think we can wrap it up.
Really.
Mate, if people have stayed with us this long, absolutely incredible, especially after a loss. You obviously enjoy suffering with us as well.
We're a pair of mopey bastards today.
Hopefully you're a subscriber, but if you aren't a subscriber, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and click your notifications and all that, and spread the word. The show's building, and we enjoy everyone, and thank you to everyone who's already been a subscriber all this time and follows us on the socials. Mate, that'll do for another episode of The Hoop Show. As I said, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And as always, go Cats and stay Geelong strong. See you, everyone.
See you guys.